get into the natural. Because, babe, I had to come with the natural hair today. You see the edges? You see side profile? You see it. I know you see it. And I have no makeup on. You see the clear skin? You see that porcelain? You see? Yeah.
Oh my God! Wow!
But anyways, welcome to the Barbie Life 2.0 podcast. I'm your host, Shakira, aka Barbie 2.0. And today I wanted to talk about the downfall of dark-skinned women's careers. Because there are a lot of dark-skinned women in the entertainment industry who had so much potential and they just ruined it. And they really could have put dark-skinned girls on the map, and they really could have opened up a lot of doors and achieved things that dark-skinned girls have never achieved before in the entertainment industry. So it's honestly a big disappointment, and I wanted to talk about it and dissect how dark-skinned girls get treated in the industry and how they are viewed in the industry as well. So the first person I want to talk about is Miss Azealia Banks. Now, Miss Azealia Banks, okay? A lot of people do not like Azealia Banks. I personally love her music, and I think that she's extremely talented. Sometimes she's completely right, and sometimes she's just way off and just trying to be problematic for no reason. But I do think that because she's a dark-skinned girl who's very outspoken and sometimes problematic, people tend to dehumanize her and villainize her and not actually pay attention to her background and where she comes from and how she became to be the woman she is today. So I kind of wanted to give Azealia Banks that moment to be seen and heard and not just viewed as the villain in the industry, okay? So Azealia Banks grew up in Harlem, and she was the youngest of 3 siblings. And her mother and her father had a very toxic relationship. When her mom met her father, she was 14 and her father was 47. So that is a huge age gap. That is like a 30-year age gap, okay? And her father actually died from pancreatic cancer when she was 2 years old. And when her father died, her mother became very abusive. Her mom started mentally abusing her, verbally abusing her, and physically abusing her. She would hit her with baseball bats and even made her and her siblings starve. She would literally take food out of the refrigerator and throw it in the trash so they would have nothing to eat.
Oh, hell no!
And her mom also used to call her ugly all the time and put her down. So Azealia Banks was definitely a victim of Black parents who just weren't emotionally equipped to have children. And this is honestly a common thing within the Black community. A lot of Black mothers and fathers will have children when they are not even mentally stable, and they will put all their trauma on their Black children. And it creates a lot of generational curses and a lot of generational toxicity in the Black family. So you can imagine at a young age, Azealia Banks was going through a lot, okay? Her mom did, however, work a job so Azealia Banks could go to an expensive Catholic school instead of going to the normal public schools in her area. And her mom always told her that she had to be out of the house by the time she was 18. And that's another toxic thing that a lot of Black parents do when they try to tell their kids that they have to be out the house by 18. And I honestly hate when Black parents do this to young Black children, because if you look at other communities allow their children to stay in the house until they're like 25 or 26, and they fully financially support them while they're going through college and allow their children to stay at home and save up money so they can pay off their school debt and so they can build assets for themselves and create generational wealth so their kids and their kids' kids can have a secure future. But unfortunately, in the Black community, a lot of Black parents have this mentality that they don't owe their children anything as soon as they become a legal adult. And honestly, it doesn't benefit our community at all. And it keeps us behind and it keeps us stagnant. And this is a toxic pattern that has contributed to the failure of the Black community. But let's continue. So Azealia Banks started going to a school called LaGuardia, and this school actually allowed her to use her musical talent to express herself and also get away from her toxic situation at home. And she ended up moving in with her sister when she was 14 years old. And her sister was actually kicked out of the house when she was 16 because she was gay. And it was because her mom was extremely homophobic. But because she was living with her sister, who was gay and very active in the gay community, Azealia Banks got introduced to house music. She then dropped out of high school and signed to XL Records and moved all the way to London. But that was a big fail because she just didn't click with the team that she was with. So she moved back home. But because Azealia Banks was so passionate about her music career, she didn't quit. And she then ended up moving to Montreal, and she worked on a song called 212. She then went back home and became a stripper for like 2 weeks, and she said it was not a good experience for her. But then her song 212 ended up blowing up, so she was able to quit. And her career started skyrocketing. She was being recognized by a lot of celebrities, including Kanye West. She also became the new face of Alexander Wang. And 212 was actually included in NME's 2011 Cool List and the top 10 tracks of 2011. After this song became a huge success, she ended up signing a 4-album, $11 million deal with Universal. So at this point, Azealia Banks is one of the top MCs in the game, and she's definitely making a name for herself and also breaking down a lot of doors as a dark-skinned girl entering house music and being one of the best to do it. And you're probably thinking, okay, so if things were going so well, where did we go wrong? Well, Azealia Banks actually had a lot of feuds with a lot of people in the industry, okay? I'm going to read you the list, but this girl beefed with Elon Musk, Iggy Azalea, Cardi B, Remy Ma, Lana Del Rey, Charlie XCX, Action Bryson, Lil Kim, Sky Jackson, Rita Ora, Kendrick Lamar, Pharrell Williams, Erykah Badu, Rihanna, A$AP Rocky, Nicki Minaj, Sia,
2,000 years later,
Jim Jones, Beyonce, Angel Hayes, Lily Allen, SZA, Rico Nasty, Cupcake, Zayn Malik, Mariah Lynn, and entire nations like Ireland, Sweden, and the African diaspora, and also Wendy Williams.
I'm just not ready for all of this. It's just...
So this girl was just beefing with everybody, okay? And she burned a lot of bridges. So even though she was super talented and nobody could really mess with her in the house music industry, she was creating so many bad relationships. And as a dark-skinned girl in the industry, it's very hard to be successful when you create bad relationships because the industry is already working against you because you are a dark-skinned girl. And this just was her downfall at this point. Now, I will admit, there were a lot of times where Azealia Banks was just flat out wrong. Like when she fat shamed Lizzo, or when she body shamed Nicki Minaj, or when she said racial slurs towards Zayn Malik. But I do believe that there were a lot of times that she was just being outspoken and people just couldn't take it because she was a dark-skinned girl speaking on topics that a lot of people didn't want to touch on. When you are a dark-skinned girl who's outspoken and you're speaking on things that a lot of people don't want to come to terms with, you will be labeled as problematic. So I want to highlight the times that Azealia Banks was right because she got a lot of hate at the time for saying these things, but I completely agree with everything she was saying. And I feel like people just didn't want to hear her say it because she was already viewed as that problematic dark-skinned girl who always has beef with people. So there was one time that she had beef with Iggy Azalea and T.I. And she actually called out Iggy Azalea for being a white woman who cosplays as a black woman and reaping the benefits of black culture without actually caring about black people. And this was a time where Iggy Azalea was winning a lot of awards for hip hop, even though she didn't necessarily deserve these awards because there were a lot of black artists who were way more talented and put in a lot more work, and they should have won those awards because at the end of the day, hip hop is black culture. So it felt like a slap in the face when Iggy Azalea was winning all these awards that were really meant for black people to win. So I'm going to play the clip where Azealia Banks was talking about this, because she did get a lot of hate for this, but she wasn't wrong at all. Okay? She wasn't wrong. So let's play the clip.
Okay, so here's the thing with Iggy Azalea. This is the thing. I feel just in this country, whenever it comes to our things like black issues or black politics or black music or whatever, there's always this like undercurrent of kind of like a fuck you. There's always like a niggas, like y'all don't really own shit, like y'all don't have shit. You get what I'm saying? Yes. That Macklemore album wasn't better than the Drake record. You know what I mean? That Iggy Azalea shit is not better than any fucking black girl that's rapping today. You know? Grammys are supposed to be like accolades for artistic excellence. You get what I mean? Iggy Azalea is not excellent. You know, I have a problem when you're trying to like say that it's hip hop and you're trying to like put it like up against black culture, like even like, you know, like Nicki Minaj or like Re-Up and Roman Reloaded, like he got Iggy like reclassified. Like you're trying to smudge out, you know what I mean? It's like you're trying to like, it's like a cultural smudging. And when they give these Grammys out, all it says to white kids is like, oh yeah, you're great, you're amazing, you can do whatever you put your mind to. And it says to black kids, you don't have shit. You don't own shit, not even the shit you created for yourself. And it makes me upset. Gotta be the bitter black bitch because I like have something to say about it.
Because you have.
What did she say here that was wrong? Like, she was completely right. Iggy Azalea didn't deserve those awards. Iggy Azalea is a white woman who cosplays as a black woman. Iggy Azalea did reap the benefits of black culture. Like, she didn't say anything wrong. And there was also a time where she got a lot of backlash for calling out Cardi B for being an industry plant. And she was basically saying that the industry used Cardi B so they could take Nicki Minaj down, because Nicki Minaj was a black woman who had complete market share of the female rap industry. And it's funny to me how she got all this backlash when she wasn't wrong. So I'm going to play the clip where she's talking about it.
My theory is that Nicki Minaj for a very long time has had like complete market share of the female rap. And for a very long time, these other music industry execs have been trying to push their female rap products through. You know, you saw Iggy Azalea and you saw like all these other girls. And Nicki Minaj was just not letting these other corporate white guys get a piece of her fucking pie. So they made Cardi B and launched her. It's not a theory, it's the truth. They made her and launched her on Nicki, and that's just because of this greater white male, like corporate part to the fucking music industry. That's just not gonna they're just not gonna let a black girl have any sort of like power. You know, Nicki had too much like the power, the female rap power was too centralized in one spot. They had to launch something on her to break that shit up. You know what I'm saying?
So what's funny to me is every time Azealia Banks speaks on these non-black women who appropriate black culture and totally reap the benefits of it, she gets backlash. And for me, it rubbed me the wrong way, because it's like, it's the black community coming for Azealia Banks while you guys are defending these non-black women who are literally appropriating your culture. And not only that, but taking your awards and totally reclaiming the meaning of hip hop, because the meaning of hip hop is really to represent black culture. So when you have these non-black people who come in and appropriate our culture and cosplay a black woman, and then they start winning all these awards that they don't deserve, it's a problem. And it kind of does show black children that they don't have shit, not even the shit that they created for themselves. Just like she said, to me, she was right in these instances, and I felt like she was completely misunderstood because she was a dark-skinned girl who was very outspoken. And when you are a dark-skinned girl who's outspoken, you will be labeled as problematic, and no one's going to really listen to what you have to say because they just see you as a bitter woman. But it's really disappointing that Azealia Banks ruined her career, because she had so much potential and so much talent, and she was popping off at a young age. Like, she was getting known around the time she was 20 years old. So it's so disappointing as a dark-skinned girl to see a woman who could have been representing us, especially in the house music genre, and really opened doors for many other dark-skinned girls to come in the industry, and made it possible for dark-skinned girls to achieve a lot of accolades with her talent. But she wasted it on having all these Twitter beefs and burning all these bridges, which is really, really sad. So, yeah. The next person I want to get into is Remy Ma. So Remy Ma grew up in the projects in the Bronx, but she was forced to raise her little siblings at a very young age because both her parents abused drugs a lot, so they weren't that active in their children's lives. And that is a pattern that I see a lot of black parents do, where they literally have children when they're not ready or when they're drug addicts, and they have their oldest daughter pretty much become the parent. You shouldn't be an inactive parent so much to the point where your oldest child has to take care of all your other kids. Because now you're not allowing your child to be a child, and you're forcing that child to grow up very early at a young age. And that's not fair. But let's continue. She used her trauma to create poetry and music at home. And she started doing a lot of rap battles. And she actually ended up winning a rap battle where she won $20,000. She began to collab with people like Big Pun and Busta Rhymes and more. She later then signed to Fat Joe's record label, and she started being featured on a lot of big songs. And one of those songs were Lean Back. And that was my jam. Like, I was like, lean back, hey, hey, I lean back, I lean back, I lean back, But anyways, so at this point, her career was taking off. But unfortunately, she ended up going to jail because she went to a birthday party and shot a girl because she thought that girl was trying to steal thousands of dollars from her. And because of this, she was charged with assault, illegal weapon possession, and coercion. So after spending 6 years in jail, she finally got out. And she totally restarted her career. And she was actually doing very well for a girl who was gone for 6 years. She released a song with Fat Joe called All the Way Up. And that was everybody's jam. Like, y'all remember, go all the way up. Hey, all the way up. Hey, all the way up. Hey, all the way up. Nothing could stop me. I'm all the way up. But anyways. But yeah, she was doing very well for herself. And she was in her own lane. And this is where we get to the part where she totally just ruined her whole career. Okay. So at this point, Nicki Minaj and Remy Ma were pretty much making a lot of money moves in the rap industry. And because both women were doing well, a lot of blogs and media outlets would try to pin them against each other because unfortunately in the female rap industry, they don't allow multiple women to win. They always try to pin them against each other. In comparison to the male rap industry, we've had stages where Kanye West and Jay-Z and J. Cole and Kendrick Lamar were all winning at the same time and nobody tried to create any beefs. But unfortunately, it's not like that in the female rap industry. But Remy Ma always denied the claims of having a beef with Nicki Minaj. Every time she would be in an interview, she would always say,
Nicki Minaj never did anything to me. There's no reason for me to stop her. I think that's corny. I think when people feel like, oh, to get on or to get people to pay attention to them, they go at somebody that never did nothing to them.
Then randomly one day, she released a 7-minute diss track to Nicki Minaj filled with a bunch of lies. And everybody was confused because she always denied having a beef with Nicki Minaj, and then she just randomly dropped this 7-minute diss track where she was just going in on Nicki Minaj. And it didn't even stop there. She kept dragging it on. She went on Wendy Williams in all black as if she was going to a funeral to try to insinuate that she killed Nicki Minaj's career and she was the new queen of rap. And she was also saying things like, it didn't even stop there. She kept dragging on the beef. There was a female rap unity event where they invited all the female rappers for the past 50 years to come and perform. And even though the event was called Female Rap Unity, Remy Ma got up on stage and performed Sheether, the 7-minute diss track where she was bashing another black woman. Not to mention, she also put up a fake obituary of Nicki Minaj while she was performing,
to insinuate that she killed Nicki Minaj's career.
And even though Sheether did very well and got a lot of attention, when she started releasing music afterwards, nobody cared and nobody tuned in, and she pretty much became a flop. And this is why I say Remy Ma ruined her career the minute she started beefing with Nicki Minaj and made that the highlight of her success. Because this is my thing. When you make the highlight of your career bashing or hating on another person, you are not going to gain real supporters. You're just going to gain a bunch of people who have a mutual hate for the same person. And that doesn't translate into real support. So while people were hyping her up for making the Sheether diss, she didn't get real support in the long run. And she became a flop. And now Remy Ma is pretty much nowhere to be found in the female rap conversation. Nobody talks about her anymore. And it's really sad because Remy Ma is a beautiful woman. She's very talented. And she can wrap circles around a lot of these bitches, in my opinion. But because she made the highlight of her career beefing with Nicki Minaj, unfortunately, no one is really checking for her no more. And now her legacy is going to be tied to beefing with Nicki Minaj instead of her own music.
And
now when people think of Remy Ma, all they think of is Sheether. They don't think of all her accolades and all the good music that she's created, and it's really sad. So she single-handedly ruined her career by doing that, and she has even come out and said that she regretted doing it too because she realized that, you know, it didn't help her in the long run. And a few years later, people actually came out and said that Atlantic Records was trying to offer artists about $200,000 to beef with Nicki Minaj. And a lot of people think that Remy Ma was offered this money and that's why she ended up beefing with Nicki Minaj randomly. And if that ended up happening, I will say the $200 was not worth it, girl, because look now. Now you're nowhere to be found in the female rap conversation. That's a lot of money, but what did it really do for your career at the end of the day? What did it really do for your career in the long run? So, unfortunately.
And
Next person I want to talk about is Naturi Naughton. Now, Naturi Naughton's career is not failed, I would say, because she did move into the acting industry and she's doing exceptionally well in that lane. But she was a singer before she was an actress. And she was actually in the group 3LW. And she was the best singer in 3LW, hands down. Hands down, okay? She could sing circles around the other two girls. But unfortunately, because she was a dark-skinned girl, the industry wasn't really trying to push her as much. So the team slept on her pretty much and tried to put her in the shadows and put her in the background instead of having her in the center. And she actually ended up speaking out about this later on. So I want to play the clip for y'all so y'all could hear her talk about it.
What is wrong? It became Naturi's voice is too soulful. You're not crossover enough. Naturi, your look is not hot right now. Nobody's checking for a dark-skinned girl. Why would we put you?
And honestly, I'm not surprised because the industry is super colorist. And I really feel bad for Naturi because she was actually a really great singer. And I felt like she could have had a really good music career if the industry wasn't so colorist and if they actually allowed her to showcase her talent. But because nobody is checking for a dark-skinned gal, they didn't want to allow her to have success. But I'm really happy that she ended up changing lanes and now she became an actress because she's doing very well. She was on the famous show Power that we all know and love. And she's also been in many other movies as well. So I'm really happy for her in that sense. But it is sad to see that her music career was cut short because the industry is so colorist. So the last person I want to talk about is Normani. Now,
oh my God.
Normani. Okay. This one I'm probably the most mad at because she is my generation and I would love to see a dark-skinned girl be in the forefront of media and be mainstream in R&B and pop. And Normani has the potential to do that. And in my opinion, I think that Normani is the dark-skinned Beyonce.
I said what I said, and always. I'm not changing on it, okay? I said what I said. It ain't changing over here.
And I know a lot of you might say that I'm reaching, but I need y'all to look at this girl when she performs. Okay, like, just look.
I said what I said, and always. I'm not changing on it, okay? I said what I said. It ain't changing over here.
So, this is my thing. What's going on, Normani? What's going on? Like, you know what I'm saying? This girl has so much potential and so much talent. I'm not going to go too hard on Normani because I know that she has been in the industry for a long time. She hasn't been a solo artist for that long, but she did start off in the group Fifth Harmony, and she did go through a lot of racism and colorism in that group. So I'm going to play you guys a clip that I made on TikTok, and I want to give you guys an overview of what she went through when she was in that group. So hold up.
Let's talk about racism and colorism, specifically pertaining to Normani's career. So for those who are unaware, Normani is a beautiful and talented American singer. She was originally in a girl group called Fifth Harmony. This girl group was actually formed by a talent show called X Factor. And unfortunately, in this girl group, Normani faced a lot of racism and colorism. One of her other group mates was named Camila Cabello, and she actually made a lot of racist Tumblr posts and has used the N-word repeatedly, even though she is a non-black woman. Camila Cabello took years to apologize. And on top of it, Normani was facing a lot of racism from fans, and her group mates literally took a long time to even defend her. And when you thought it wouldn't get worse, Normani was also facing a lot of racism because she was honestly very slept on in this girl group. She even said that she didn't feel like she had the same opportunities as her other non-black group mates. She said, and I quote, "I felt like I was overlooked." And I even noticed it in X Factor how they would always overlook her to shine on the non-black members and say that they were better, when really they just never gave Normani the opportunity to showcase her talent. For example, take a look at this next clip.
And it didn't click for me tonight. Right now there's only one person doing it for me.
Group? Demi, who was the one that clicked for you?
You.
Camilla?
Yes, I think you guys should all learn something from her.
Like, I remember watching that as a little kid, and I honestly saw myself in Normani. Because I've went to PWIs and had to deal with being overlooked while being the best in the room. And it honestly takes a toll on your mental health and honestly shakes your confidence a lot.
So Normani did go through a lot, like I said. So I don't know if maybe she's just taking a break from music, because I do know what it's like when you go through a lot of racism and colorism, and she did go through it on a very big scale because she was famous, and she did go through it at a young age. But I do also know that she's signed to Keep Cool Records, and their parent company is RCA. And RCA is the same record label that SZA and Lotto are signed to. And RCA does have the reputation of being pretty colorist. So I will say they may not, I don't know what's going on behind the scenes, honestly, but it could be a possibility that they're not actually giving Normani a chance because they're focused on pushing other artists of a lighter complexion. And maybe because they have SZA right now, they may feel like that's enough dark-skinned girls to push. And that's normally what happens in a lot of industries, where they kind of just find one dark-skinned girl or two dark-skinned girls and they're like, all right, that's enough. We don't want any more. But I don't know what's going on behind the scenes. But what I do know is if Normani doesn't drop music by 2024, I'm going to have a fit, because this is ridiculous at this point. This girl could be winning Grammys and she's just been doing nothing. And I'm not going to blame her because it may not be her fault. It may be her record label's fault. And I really hope in the next few years, we don't see her come out and say that she was actually getting scammed by her label and her label didn't let her release any music, because that does happen to a lot of artists. But like I said, I really hope that Normani finds her sound and she finally starts releasing music, because I don't think she knows how talented she is and what she could be achieving with her talent. But I see that girl winning a lot of awards and breaking down a lot of doors and achieving a lot of accolades that a lot of dark-skinned girls have never been able to achieve before, because she is just that talented. So it's really sad, but she is the dark-skinned girl for my generation. For the people who are from the age 16, not even 16, for the people who are from the age of 13 all the way to 24, 25, she's our girl. She's our representation for real. And I want to see her win. So girl, release some music. What? But anyways, looking at all these dark-skinned girls and their career, it all boils down to the fact that when you are a dark-skinned girl, you have to play a certain game in the industry. You can't be too outspoken because you will be labeled as problematic. And you do have to benefit from featureism. And sometimes your career just won't reach a certain amount of success because the industry is not going to support a dark-skinned girl. But it's really sad, and I really wish these girls didn't make certain choices so that they could have a better career and represent dark-skinned girls and open up more doors and finally give dark-skinned girls something to look up to besides Sexy Red. And this is no hate towards Sexy Red. Like I said, I don't have a problem with Sexy Red. Her music actually grew on me a little bit, like some songs. But again, I believe that dark-skinned girls deserve more representation than just the hood rat ghetto representation. And all these women I mentioned in this video do give a certain variety of representation for dark-skinned girls. And sadly, their careers just failed and they ruined it. But yeah. That's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I just want to say thank you so much for supporting me, and I love you guys so much. And yeah, I hope you guys are staying safe, and if you're new here, welcome. My name is Shakira, aka Barbie 2.0, and I speak on colorism, texturism, featureism, and issues in the Black community. So if you love me and you love my page, definitely check out all my other videos, and I will see you guys very soon. And yeah, love you guys. Peace out.